Yo, yo, what's good? It's Kid Cudi, and you're listening to Behind the Baller podcast with my dude, my ace, Ben motherfucking Baller. Yeah.
What up, people? You are now tuned in to Behind the Baller podcast. We are at episode 9. Almost at double digits, man. I am your host, Ben Baller, not Ben Humble. Man, people are in their feelings about me being in this NBA 2K game. But you know, though, it's okay, man. Their frowns make me smile. You know what I'm saying? So, today, we're going to get into some shit. We're going to get into some real shit, okay? I want to get into the deep history about how I came up and the many hustles I had before I became a jeweler, up till right around where I started out as a jeweler. So this shit might take a few episodes because, like, this shit might take 4 episodes, maybe 5. I have no idea because, goddamn, my life is crazy as fuck. And never, ever have I ever went into full detail about the 90s anywhere. My wife doesn't even know 95% of these stories I'm about to spit. All right, so we're going to get right into it, man. If you follow me closely, you would know that I got, and I tell people this, I got all my hustle, my attitude from my mom. My mom, Helen, my mom was a hard worker. All right, she was just a beast when it came to work ethic. She was a dress contractor for 20 years. My mom came here with fucking $20. She came with like less than $100 to America. No bullshit. In like 1966 or some shit. Or I forgot what year it was. It was super early on. My mom was a dress contractor. She averaged 80-hour work weeks. No bullshit. She would fall asleep at the factory. Like, no bullshit. She was sewing dresses like a motherfucker. My mom put the sewing machine in a lot of major contractors, all Korean people, like people from the guys who did denim for True Religion, the OG people from Guess Jeans. If you didn't know, in the 80s, Guess Jeans was like Gucci. That shit was real for real. Shout out to my boy Nikolai Marciano, you know what I'm saying? And the fuck is Matt Marciano, and everyone's kind of like MIA, but Nikolai's there holding it down. I got a lot of love for Guess. I had a lot of history with that shit during the 80s. And this was before any Korean was up on game on anything. Like, just, this was early on. I'm talking about, this is obviously, you know, the 70s. So my mom decided to, like, my mom was sewing dresses in the garage at first. And my mom started to teach a few friends of hers. And people just started telling other people, and they started following suit. And next thing you know, all of downtown LA was filled with Korean dress contractors. LA warehouses filled up with Koreans running the same business. And prior to that, my mom and dad were so poor that my dad got pulled over for a minor ticket infraction and couldn't afford the fine, so he spent a few days in jail. My brother and sister lived in City Terrace. If you know where the fuck City Terrace is, like, if you really know where City Terrace is, then you know, like, City Terrace ain't no, like, we don't really have project housing in Los Angeles. You know, there is some in Watts, I think, and like the Nixon Gardens area and everything else. But like, even in like South Central, there's really no project housing. It's like City Terrace is pretty fucking bad. It's a poor part of town. But it wasn't until I was born that we started doing okay. I guess that's from what my brother and sister told me. You know, and by okay, I mean we live middle class. You know, lower middle class. But we're middle class as fuck. But my mom was doing this way before the Forever 21 family got involved in fashion. And, you know, like, my brother was a genius since he was a little tiny kid, you know, and my mom never worried about him because, like, in fact, my mom made him the boss. My dad and mom made my brother the boss of the house because they were so busy. You know, I was a latchkey kid, and I'm not like, this is what it was. You know, your parents worked, and anybody that's listened to this that's older or you know, I mean, how the fuck do you not understand? Today is different, but you know, it's what it was. And my brother always got away with a bunch of shit because he was he had straight A's, and he went to a prestigious school. He went to school, to a boarding school, and my parents shipped him off, and I know that must have probably fucked him up and whatever. But he was able to kind of do anything, say anything he want, and but at the same time, my dad beat the shit out of him. He got the shit beaten out of him countless times because my dad was a savage, and we'll get more into my dad in another episode. It's just, but my mom worked hard. My mom whooped some ass too. My mom beat my ass a few times, but I deserved it, But at the same time, like my wife, I tell these stories, and she's like, "Yo, I don't know what kind of, that's jail time." And I'm like, "Man, that's just Korean. I mean, I've seen blacks, I've seen Mexicans. Like, that's just how it was back then. Nobody died, and motherfuckers just got beat, belt, sticks, whatever. It's just like you can't do that shit now, But that's what it was. And my wife lived a totally different upbringing. But my mom worked really hard for a long ass time. And when my parents got divorced, she moved into an apartment building downtown Los Angeles. And this is like way before downtown LA was like a popping spot, right? I'm talking about like Bunker Hill. This was a dope spot. This was cool, but it was just different. It wasn't like a family area or nothing, and I was pretty young. My mom lived in that last era of working hard, where like if you worked hard, you could make money. Like that was just it, like, and I'm being serious. Like you didn't necessarily have to have a lot of talent. My mom had some skills, but you didn't have to have a ton of talent, and you could just make money just by working hard. Like that shit don't exist anymore. Now today, you need a ton of skill. Like you need skill, you need marketing, you need all kinds of shit to make it. So my parents' divorce fucked me up. Like it ruined my life, period. Real talk. I think it wasn't until I had kids that I realized how truly bad it fucked up my mind. I thought we had a pretty stable household, even though my parents fought and shit, and they would get like physical and everything. But once they actually separated, my life just fucked up. Just went down the toilet. And I went from having A's. I mean, I was a smart kid, period. I think it was just genetically in us to be smart. But I went from having A's to going to D's and F's. I turned to stealing. I've mentioned this before. I turned to gangs. I wanted to feel cool. And that's what, I was, man, again, I will say this, man. I've been so obsessed with gang life and gangster shit all my life. And to this day right now, like if there's a movie about gangs or fucking prison or about Vegas and scumbag shit and just like degenerate shit, like I'm all for it. I'm just in it. And it's the environment I grew up in, and on the weekends, I'd stay with my mom. My parents divorced, what I'm saying? And she gave me a $20 allowance if my grades were on par, if they're good. And I think she also felt bad a bit because of the divorce, and she knows I was acting up and I got arrested and shit at a young age. I got arrested at like I was 9. I'm trying to think. It's like 82. I got arrested in Cerritos, California, of all fucking places. I got arrested at the Cerritos Mall. I'll never forget, man. They had this fucking place over there called Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor. And this was my favorite. This place was like, it might as well been Mr. Chow's. This place had like crazy ice cream fucking sundaes. They had burgers and fries. It's just, I was obsessed with just because I didn't eat like that. So it was like a delicacy. It was like a fucking special moment to go to Cerritos Mall and go to Farrell's. And I had like a distant relative that lived over there. And they had this They had an outdoor mall sale because Sears was being renovated. And this was the time when ColecoVision just came out. And me and my boy Fred, I have no idea where the fuck Fred is now, but he was also a really smart kid too. We were in the Cerritos Mall, and we grabbed a couple bags from Nordstrom's, and we took the bags, and we went to this tent where they had the outdoor sale, and we started pushing these video games outside of the tent, so it ended up being on the street side, like in the parking lot, and no one saw us, and we got away. We put like $900 of fucking games inside these bags, and then my boy Fred was like, "Hey man, let me go back." He's an older dude. He was like 2 years older than me. I was 9. He was 11 or 12, and he had to have more sense in him. He might have been even 13. He was definitely much older. We took the bus there, and he came back, and he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna take this little fucking adapter," and I was like, "Okay, fuck it, whatever." Now I'm I'm like 200, 300 yards away from the tent at a stoplight at the mall. And This motherfucker gets his shit, starts running over to me, and a security guard, this Mexican dude, starts chasing him. Slim dude, never forget. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. And I was like, yo, man, this dude's calling. Like, he's coming out. If I would have ran, there'd have been no motherfucking chance in a million years they would have caught me. But anyways, they caught me. They caught it because I didn't know what to do. I was like shook. I didn't know what to do at that point. So we get arrested. It was grand theft, larceny. So because I lived so far from Cerritos, I was way the fuck far from home. They tried to call my parents. I wouldn't give them my phone number because I was scared because I knew my parents were going to kill me. So I just started talking shit. And we were the youngest dudes in the jail cell. You know, there's people in there doing all kinds of shit. And they kept asking, oh, goddamn, you guys are young. What are you guys doing here? You could look like decent people. And I was like, oh, man, I'm in here for grand theft larceny. And I started cutting jokes in there, started making people crack up and shit. I remember the sheriff came in there and he was like, is something funny? And I cracked a joke and everyone started laughing. And then he grabbed the back of my hand, slammed me against the wall. And I busted my nose. And I was like, man, fuck this dude. So I told this dude my fake birthday. I wouldn't tell him the fucking truth or anything, whatever. And we're there until like fucking 1 a.m. And I can't imagine what my mom and dad must have been thinking. And they're like, yo, my son is not home. And it's been, I was probably worried as a motherfucker. So they had me call home, and I called home. My brother and sister are freaking out. They don't know what to fucking do. And they're like, hey, listen, we're gonna tell dad, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, don't tell dad. So anyways, my dad come to go get me. And there was no fine. I was too young, whatever. And my dad whooped my ass right there at the police station. And he and Fred's parents whooped his ass, and it was just like a fucking crazy thing. And that was just like the beginning of the end. So, you know, my mom just felt bad. I was getting in all kinds of trouble. But really, even like to keep it 100, my mom really had no idea how much of a fucking hooligan I was. And like later on, man, during the summers, I asked my mom if I could go work for her and like work for her below minimum wage. And, you know, I was super young. And after 2 days of working for my mom, I quit. That shit was tough as fuck. Carrying around fabric. And I'm talking about like, that shit felt like 100 pounds. I don't know how much I weighed then. But like carrying around fabric, going from sewing machine to another, delivering shit to another fucking factory. It was just like, I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing this shit. And being in a factory all day long from like 7 a.m. in the morning until like 5 p.m. It was too much. I don't know how the fuck my mom lasted so long. But she did, you know, and I just quit. I couldn't do that shit no more. And my mom, she in the business, she worked with only Jewish people. And there was this one Italian guy. I won't say his name, but he was connected. And when I say connected, you know, he's connected. I mean, he was connected to the motherfucking mob. I'm trying to think a pleasant way to say it, which I think is dope, but I mean, most people might not. And I'll never forget, it was crazy. He wasn't part of the Gambino crime family, no shit like that, but his actual name was mentioned in the movie Bugsy, in the movie with Warren Beatty. Like that was like based off real gangster shit. And I remember they mentioned his name in that movie. It's pretty crazy. And he used to get dugout seats. That's like floor seats at a Laker game, right? He used to get dugout seats at the Dodger games when Fernando Valenzuela played. And Fernando Valenzuela back then, motherfucking El Toro, this motherfucker he was as big as Magic Johnson. He was fucking famous as shit. Anyways, my mom held it down, and she was doing that whole hustle until the riots happened. And when the riots happened, you know, it ended her business. And my mom found a new business. You know, she took a little time off, and then she found a new business with my stepdad, who pretty much I consider my dad. Rest in peace, Leo, man. He's fucking one of the most amazing people in all my lifetime. I can't even tell you. Never judge me. I don't know, man. Was so good to my mom. I can't even tell you. This dude was literally the most unbelievable person in my life. He passed away like 7 years ago, so I don't remember exactly, but he passed away months apart from when Jonas passed away. That was a tough fucking year. I never really talked about that. But my mom found a new business. She started a Korean bakery. And my mom was heavy into cooking. She was like a master chef. Like she was just so ill with it. And I didn't realize until I started going to other people's homes and eating their food that how ill my mom was. Like, well, you know, on the chef level, on the cook level. And I'd even go out to restaurants and my mom would walk into a kitchen and my mom would slap the shit out of the cook in there. My mom was crazy as fuck. My mom would be like, what the fuck you think? What the fuck are you thinking? Why would you put this with this seasoning with this? Like, do you know what this shit tastes like? And no one would ever say anything to my mom because she was feared. And my mom was so respected in the Korean community. You know, my mom was one of the first 5 people to own a business, like one of the first 5 Korean people to own a business in like that Koreatown, LA area. And my mom was also like, one of the first Korean people, let alone women. She was connected to the city council, all the, the prominent Korean people that were in the business, all the above. And like, even later on, this is some crazy shit just to talk about. We're talking about the early 90s right now, I'm just jump skipping 5 years ago, like much more recently, obviously. One of my neighbors, her name is Tony Ko, a Korean lady. She sold her makeup company, NYX, to L'Oreal for like $300 million. And she owned the entire fucking company, right? Started the shit up, had no investors or anything, whatever. And I'll never forget, I was like, who the fuck got a Bentley and a Ferrari in my building? She had a Scuderia too. She had the lit. She had an F430 Scuderia. It was fucking sick as fuck. And she was in parking spot 1 and 2 of our building. And our building was filled with all kinds of yuppies and like USC kids and all these little rich kids and shit, and like new doctors and stuff. And they thought they were lit. And listen, it's all good. I'm just saying, these are dudes who always talk shit to me. But like, oh, they look at me like sideways. And like, our parking lot was lit. Me and my cousin lived there too. So my cousin Steve was in this building too. So it was like extra lit. And I had mad cars. And I had a Rolls, I had a fucking Lambo, he had the Range, had a Bentley. And so people were like, yo, this motherfucker Ben Baller lives in here. And anyways, one day I see this girl, she's pretty, and she's walking to her car. And every time I'd see her, she's always dressed to the fucking T, like straight up, like nails, hair, everything done right. Saint Laurent tribute sandals, makeup on point. She's always in a fire dress, it's just expensive, high fashion outfit. And like, she never said hi, nothing. She was just like on some other shit. And then one day her brother noticed me, and I guess he told her, like, yo, man, Ben Baller lives in your building. And she's like, he's your neighbor. And she's like, who the fuck is Ben Baller? And she found out, I guess, whatever, he put her up on game. And so we became friends. And, Korean people was a small community. And she began to follow me on social media, and we talked. And she was married to some fucking cornball dude. And I hope that Tony don't listen to this, but I think she ended up divorcing the dude anyway, so it don't matter. But one day she saw, I posted a picture of my mom, and she's like, holy shit. She like DM'd me. She's like, your mom is fucking the best. Like, I love your mom. She is a fucking boss. She's like, I used to go to the same Korean health spa. It's a super Korean thing. And I would be like sitting down in the locker in the back, and I'd hear your mom, because your mom's voice was really loud. And she's like, I'd hear your mom talk all the time and tell stories. And, I heard things about her. I can't believe that's your fucking mom. It just makes so much sense. And I was like, yeah, that's where I got my hustle from. This is a Korean woman who's younger than me, and she's worth over $250 million, telling me that my mom was a fucking boss, and an inspiration for Korean women. It just fucked me up. So that's like the history. I had to spend 15 minutes kind of breaking down, like, that's how deeply embedded, I respected my mom's hustle from everything she did. Obviously my mom's retired now. So anyways, my sister, she had that same hustle as well. And I knew once I finished college, like, maybe my mom would help me out with a loan or something, to just, like, bless me with some kind of paper or something, like when my brother and sister had finished college, and she helped them out. And like, when it came down to me, I was like trying to finish school as fast as possible. And by the time I finished school, my mom had hit hard times. So like the well had dried up, and she couldn't help me out. And, part of me held a grudge, but I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I mean, I'm broke. I got nothing. I got to figure shit out. And I'm a PA, and that shit ain't paying nothing. Being a PA has got to be the worst fucking job in the world in Hollywood. You're somebody's bitch. I was a fucking key grip, best boy, all that shit. I fucking built a fucking house. Like, I've literally built a goddamn house. Like, I built I'm talking like foundation. We built, I don't even know why the fuck does building out, what the fuck that shit got to do with building up with a movie? Like, when you see the 17-minute long credits in movies and shit, there's people building shit and doing all kinds of shit. And then you'll realize what all that shit meant. Like, fuck that. Being a PA sucked. And my mom couldn't help me out. And she's like, hey, I'm going to give you the title to your car, so you have your car and you won't have any car payments. Like, I came back to LA, and I was like, all right, well, at least I got my car. And, it was tough trying to find a job. I was out fucking around getting high, and I was still active. I was still playing basketball. I went to Beijing to try to play pro, and it didn't work out. We'll get into that more in another episode. And I didn't make my insurance payments on my car. And I'll never motherfucking forget, I was going to go meet some homies at the lighter shade of brown. There's a real big fucking group from LA. They had a couple hits, like major hits. They had on a Sunday afternoon. It was a fucking huge song, man. That shit just fucks me up when I hear the song. Anybody over the age of maybe 35 should definitely know. Anybody over the age 40 and grew up in LA, 1,000,000% you knew the song. And I went to a video shoot, and it's funny because that was the maybe second or third time I had heard about Mr. Cartoon. He was a legendary dude, and this is, way, way before his time of fame. He was a street dude who people knew on the street, but he had his lowrider in this music video for Lighter Shade of Brown, and I went to the video shoot, and I'm chilling. I parked my car right on Melrose by Paramount Studios, and I had a 1992 Prelude, and it was like obviously years had gone by, but I had a 1992 Honda Prelude SI, and I thought the car was kind of dope. And I didn't make my insurance payments. And this is the time and era where motherfuckers were stealing cars. And I came back, sure enough, I thought my car was towed. I was like, oh man, this car was towed. Then I looked and saw that there was a car in front of where I parked it and a car behind where I parked it. I'm like, yo, someone stole my car. So I had to tell my mom, and my mom was like, man, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me you couldn't make your insurance payments? I was like, what do you want me to do? And she felt bad, and she didn't know what to do. She's like, well, I can't afford to get you a car. You just gonna have to figure it out. So now I got no car, I'm broke, and I got no way to get a car. And this is LA, man. This is like the worst fucking possible place you can be without a car to this day. So my sister had been running a dope-ass fashion magazine called Detour, and it was low-key lit. It was like a really respected fashion magazine, and she didn't get paid much, but her juice card was crazy, you know what I'm saying? And I was DJing like random-ass little spots, like underground spots and whatever, like super hip-hop shit. And I would go anywhere, you know what I'm saying? That would pay me $100 a night, and that was fucking cool with me. Finally, my sister, she was connected pretty heavy, and she connected me with the owner of the world famous Roxbury nightclub. And that's where I met Eli Samaha. And he was a crazy Lebanese dude. This motherfucker was like Italian mafia style. Like this dude was a trip. He owned like 3 or 4 restaurant clubs, supper clubs around town, and they're all popping at the time. This was like during the Brent Bolthouse era. Anybody over 30 something should definitely know who Brent Bolthouse was. This guy is a legend in fucking LA nightlife. This dude was way before any of that fucking SBE shit or any of that fucking shit. Or was it SBC or what the fuck is it? SB? Whatever the fuck it was. Whatever Sam Nazarian's bullshit ass clubs were. And Bolthouse was just kind of like just becoming to be like the Hollywood nightlife king. And at the time he was running a restaurant called Babylon, and Ellie owned that shit. Is it Eli? Eli, I'm sorry. Ellie? It's Eli. So anyways, this place Babylon is right on Robertson and like Neil Melrose. So it's like right where Sir is. If you ever watched that show, The Vanderpump Rules, whatever, it's Lisa Vanderpump's club restaurant. And it's funny, I shot one of my reality show series there, episodes there with Rob Kardashian. Anyways, I got a job promoting the Roxbury on Thursday nights. I was handing out flyers, handing out little cards, and anytime someone came in with my card with the stamp on it, I get $1 for it. And I was out hustling. I was going out to other clubs, promoting, trying to get people to come. I was going to Bar One. I was going to fucking all over the place. And Thursday nights was like a cool night. And once in a while, I'd see a few big celebs. It's like Keenen Ivory Wayans and shit. And like, by random luck, I met Mark Wahlberg there, and on my Thursday night, and we became cool friends. And then we end up hanging out and kicking it, getting high, fucking around, getting in trouble. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. But actually, no, fuck that. We're gonna get back into it right now, and then we'll get into it because me and Mark Wahlberg are still homies to this day. And I always knew he'd be somebody dope, and it was crazy how he became fucking enormous star that he is now. I mean, like ridiculous star. I mentioned before that in high school there was a dude that was like super lit, was always like moving and shaking. His name was Guy Osiri. I think I definitely brought his name up in the podcast. Had to early on, and Guy's been involved with like Uber and managing Madonna, and he was plugged in early, and he was just a fast talker, and he always had it going on. I just ran into fucking Guy actually at the NBA Finals. The Golden State Warriors, this is the most recent finals, and Guy's like friends with every single fucking major person in Hollywood. He's so connected, it's not even funny. This dude was best friends with Russell Simmons. He's like really close with Anthony Kiedis, and just he's plugged in with everyone. He's still relevant and everything. And like, you know, he don't know this, and I've mentioned it a bunch of times. You know, he was my motivation coming in because he was, you know, we were roughly the same age. He was a grade above me, but this was the dude. He was the reason why I didn't want to go to college. Like, fuck basketball, fuck football. I wanted to run with Guy Osiri. I knew he was going to go places. I just knew it. And there was a few dudes from Fairfax and from Beverly that were making moves, and I just knew that they were, and they still ended up, you know, popping off. And some of them just ain't doing much now, but their paper is solid. And Guy was one of them. And like when I got out of college, you know, like years had gone by, you know what I'm saying? Like it'd been like 5 years since I seen him. And when I came back, he was already lit. Like he was already popping. He had bands. He was a fucking head of A&R. He was already lit. And as time went on, he just got more lit and lit. And, you know, here I am. I'm a promoter at a fucking nightclub that he could get into any time. And like, he got a credit card and fucking business, you know, a fucking expense account, all that shit. And Mark invites me out one night with some random dudes he did a movie with. I forgot what movie it was at the time. And so we go to this party and we're up in the hills and we end up at Madonna's house. And I'm like, oh shit. Now you gotta remember, man, Madonna might not sound like that much now for you kids, but like, yo, listen, man. Lady Gaga, fucking Ariana Grande, and like she was Beyonce level then. This was like literally that big of how fucking legendary Madonna is, you know? And we end up at the house and they start kind of giving a shit for being there, whatever. This is, you know, Mark Wahlberg's done with the Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. And he's like Calvin Klein ads and everything. He's killing it. I see Joe Pesci and I like bug out. I don't really care about celebrities too much. I'm from LA, but like I saw Joe Pesci. I was like, oh shit, it's Joe Pesci. And so a fight broke out. And Mark ended up knocking a motherfucker down, like down the driveway, like knocked his ass out. And it was fucking Guy Osiri. And I was like, oh shit. And I don't think Guy didn't see me. And I didn't know what to say because it was like, it was crazy. And Mark was a beast, man. Mark, first of all, he's from fucking, you know, he's from Boston, South Boston. The motherfucker was from, you know, he didn't come up rich at all. He was a fighter, he's a scrapper. Motherfucker was buff as fuck. He's in good shape. And I found out later, man, from Mark and for other people, like I had to go, like he had nightmares about the shit, you know what I'm saying? And part of me was like, yeah, fuck this dude, man. He ain't trying to put me on, so fuck him. But I mean, I think about it now, and if I was on, would I put somebody else on? I have no idea. You know, I was in that position then. Anyways, going on, I met Mark at the Roxbury, and that was my dog. You know what I'm saying? This was fucking 24 years ago. But going back to working at the club, you know, I hated wearing a suit. I felt fucking corny as fuck. I felt out of place. You know, I was broke, but even though I was broke, like broke was a mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like it was different. Like I had no money, but I wasn't broke mentally. I was so optimistic. I knew that I was going to make it. I was going to do some shit, you know, and just going to the club, I just felt like there was going to be, you know, some sort of a network out there, you know, and like every Thursday night there was this DJ and their name was Rob. I don't remember if it was Rob G or something. Fuck, it's such a long time ago. But the promoters of that night were called Artist Group Network, AGN. Later on, these guys would start a hip hop group, a local hip hop group. They kind of blew up a little bit. They're called the Cottonmouth Kings. It's fucking totally crazy. Brad X, my boy Lou, man, you know, shout out to Rob and Brad X. I saw Rob not that long ago, but I ain't seen Brad in forever. And it's just crazy how, you know, that the world is so small and you just cross paths and everything. And anyways, Rob, the DJ, I would listen to his sets because he was a professional. You know, he's a legitimate put on nightclub DJ, professional DJ. And he'd start off almost every week. He would start off the night when it was early on when no one was really dancing. The club just opened. He'd start off with Heartbeat by Tana Gardner. And that song was, man, bro, like, heartbeat, it make it feel so sweet. Like, Miles, man, cue that song up. Cue Heartbeat by Tana Gardner. And, man, I love that fucking song. Like, you know, so many hip-hop artists, like big hip-hop artists sample that beat. And, like, even like De La Soul, Buddy, remix, this was like the disco era of clubs. In the clubs, they're playing like disco, pop house music, like Hathaway, like What Is Love and all that shit, and fucking Robin S, Show Me Love and all that stuff. And once in a while they play hip hop, you know, like they would get a little lit. And This was the time when Brian Austin Green from 90210 was promoting Bar One. So that was like our opposing club, and they had the cooler club. They had the doper bitches. He had hoes on that motherfucker. And my boy DJ Tony Stewart was Brian Austin Green's DJ, and it was like he was lit, man. I know Tony's still around now. I see him once in a while pop up on social media. And Roxbury is a legendary motherfucking nightclub if you don't know. But this wasn't the golden best era. This was like towards the end of like the not necessarily, but yeah, it was like a slight decline of the club because it went on, for a while after that. But they made the fucking movie about it, Night at the Roxbury. But like back in like the early, like super early 90s, when Roxbury opened up, like you go there any fucking night and you're gonna run into like 89, 90. You go in there and you'll see Madonna, Mike Tyson, Prince, Magic, fucking Jack Nicholson, every single gigantic, huge A-list celebrity. Like not, you go now and be like, oh shit, I saw Future and I saw fucking, I don't know, man, some fucking rapper that just, it's really not that big of a deal. This shit is like a big fucking deal. And like, this was, 4 years later from that. But, Prince and a few others I'd see, once in a while. But I'm from LA again, so I didn't really care about that type of shit. I just wanted to DJ so bad because I was a DJ and I was trying to get on. And I'm here fucking promoting. And so that headline DJ, Rob, one day he went out to do a commercial. It was for like Pepsi or Mountain Dew. And it was a skydiving commercial. And like the next day or something, I found out that he died. So he was skydiving in the commercial and his parachute didn't open and the backup didn't open either. And he fucking died. I was like fucking bugged out. I was like, oh shit. So the backup DJ on Thursday night was a dude named Trevor. And Trevor began to cover Thursday nights. And like for a few months, he was on. And I was like, fuck, man, they ain't got no backup DJ, man. I'm hoping these motherfuckers, pick me. And like, I'm trying to get on. And like, I found out that dude had a drug problem. And, he wasn't a dick. He wasn't problematic or anything. He would be all over the place. But he was a good DJ. When he was on, he's on. And then he'd have his off nights. And sometimes he wouldn't have the club dancing heavy. And back then, if you were DJing, it was stressful as hell. Like, you had to have the people DJ, on the club, like, dancing. You'd have to have a dance floor packed. People dancing, really busting moves and everything. And if people walked off the floor because, you played a song you didn't like, that they didn't like, it was a bad thing. So you did whatever you could to keep them on there. So you had to play hits. You couldn't really experiment so much. It was totally different. Even though I fuck with underground clubs, you couldn't play no underground hip hop over there because it just wouldn't pop. And I didn't really fuck with underground clubs at this point because my overall scratching skills wasn't like on par with like Homicide. Like Homicide was one of the fucking dopest fucking DJs in the world. Shout out to my boy Craig, and he's one of my best friends, And there's battle DJs out there that would go crazy, and this was like a different thing. And like back then, you go to an underground club with all these, super hip hop clubs, it'd be like 95% dudes. This was just like, here's what it is. But back in the day, even the club days, even if you're popping, not everyone had the same records. And I was a record hoarder, and I had plugged in, and I had records. I still kept all my records. I was DJ. I practiced at home and everything, and my mixes were on point. And even some of the major record pools that were servicing all the DJs, they couldn't get the exclusive joints early. But anyways, while I'm promoting this club and other spots that Eli owns, his wife, the girl he's married to, is a famous actress named Tia Carrera. And I ended up being a part-time assistant for her because I work for Eli, And to be truthful, we're supposed to back our Asian people, but man, like, she was such a bitch. She was so bossy, and I just hated working for her. And like one day I had to fucking bring her some color contacts to the set of Wayne's World. She was a star of Wayne's World, that movie. And I had to bring a set of contacts to Wayne's World too. And she was like, yeah, bring my aqua contacts from my medicine cabinet in my drawers. I was like, some shits look all the same to me. So I brought back a set, and she was like, no, these are green. You got to go back and get me my fucking aqua ones. And I was like, man, like, really? So I got to go all the way back up to her fucking house. And by the way, I'm borrowing my sister's car, so this fucking sucked. Or I borrowed my cousin's car. And it just sucked, driving, doing all that stuff. And I go back in the hills, I get the right ones. And I couldn't quit on her because I needed the job. One night, right across the street from the Roxbury, and the Roxbury now is Pink Taco. At one point, it became Miyagi's, which was like fucking legendary ass spot too. I didn't really fuck with it so much. And it's crazy fucking backstory. One of the other dudes from school that was popping, his name is Larry Pollock. Larry Pollock owns, is it the Saddleback whatever the fuck, the Saddleback fucking restaurant, the bar that's on fucking Sunset, right there on the Sunset Strip where they have the horse and shit, Charlie's Angels and whatever. And he owned Miyagi's too, and that place was fucking, he had that place cracking. And this dude used to do parties in high school. When I was at school, he always had parties, and this dude didn't come from no money. He was just a shrewd, fucking super shrewd Jewish business dude. And the crazy thing about this whole shit that goes full motherfucking circle is, I've known this dude forever in the club business. This dude bought a mansion in Calabasas way the fuck back. You want to talk about some Forrest Gump shit? One day, Drake invites me to his crib. He just bought this new crib. He's like, yo, come to my house. And I pull up to the crib. I'm like, yo, dog. Bro, my boy used to own this crib. He's like, who the fuck's your boy? I'm like, Larry Paul. Like, how the fuck do you know Larry? Everyone in the house, 40, CJ, like security guards, they all knew, like, yo, listen, what the fuck you talking about? And I'm like, bro, I went to high school with this fool, bro. He owned Miyagi's, he owned fucking Dublin's, he owned fucking Saddleback, all this shit. And they're like, bro, he wrote the names of those clubs on this thing. And that's like the legendary Drake's crib where that fucking waterfall and the pool and everything is. And Drake was like, what the fuck? Fuck that dude, man. That dude fucked me over on this house. Like, you know, he made me do karaoke at his club and didn't discount the crib. And it's just crazy. So anyways, that club after the Roxbury, you know, my high school fucking alumni, one of my classmates fucking bought that spot. Going back to the story, I'm so sorry, man. Being Tia Carrere's assistant, across the street from the nightclub, from Roxbury, was another nightclub called Carlos and Charlie's. That actually was the club where Eddie Murphy got in a fight. And Danny Terry was talking about the story, and was it Raw or Delirious? I forgot, but he gets in a fight at the nightclub and he gets sued. That was the club he got in a fight at. And it's just crazy historical Hollywood history there. That club ended up turning into the legendary club Dublin's, okay? And like Dublin's was popping. Monday nights at Dublin's, I was the DJ with Dave Orlando, and it was a Bolt House, you know, production. It was a Bolt House promoted night, and I was the DJ there. This is later on. And Jay-Z shouted the club out because I was the DJ there, you know what I'm saying? And Jay-Z shot on his hit song, Give It To Me, Give It To You, with Pharrell singing on it, and he says, bubbling at Dublin's. And he's referring to the night I used to DJ at. You know, Miles, cue that song up, man.
With girls from Club Cheetah, the Club Amnesia, the Peanuts in LA, bubbling in Dublin,
yeah, you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers, man. I've been on, man. Listen, man, I've been baller. I was who I was before fucking social media ever existed. So anyways, that place was called Carlos and Charlie's, and one night I'm there waiting on Tia, and I fucking met Christopher Walken there, because he was a co-star in Wayne's World 2 as well. And that was fucking surreal because it's the king of New York. That's a different level, like, of meeting that shit. So now, to the moment of truth. Finally, one night at the Roxbury nightclub, this dude Trevor does not show up. He's smoking crack, true story, doesn't show up. And I tell the manager, I'm like, yo, man, you about to have a fucking club open up without a DJ? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Fuck this, man. Come on, let me get my records. Let me get my fucking records, please. So, you know, the manager was like, yeah, man, fuck it. Go get your fucking records, man. And I was like, all right, cool. So I run and go get my records. I live right down the street, thank God. And I borrowed my boy's car, go down to the fucking club and grab my records. You know, I live like literally 3-4 minutes away. And mind you, this was the age in LA when you could drive from the center of Hollywood to deep downtown LA in 15 minutes. Like, you can drive from downtown LA to Sherman Oaks at fucking 4 o'clock and get there in 20 minutes. And it's crazy how much fuck shit has gone on since then, because fucking traffic's so goddamn bad now. Anyways, I got back to the Roxbury in like 15, 20 minutes with my records, and I had my first night as a real club DJ at a major nightclub, like a fucking real famous fucking nightclub. Whether it was on a decline or not, it was a fucking super fucking famous nightclub. And I got my fucking first night DJing, and I fucking killed that shit. And from that point on, it was game over. I was rocking Thursday nights for a while, you know, until like, and I'm popping, like, it was dope. It felt like nothing, it was nothing, no other. And I was getting $100 a night, so it wasn't really shit, but it helped. I was just able to I was struggling, but I was able to get shit going. And I heard from this one guy who was a manager at 2020 Video. It's fucking random as fuck, but he used to give me a bunch of free porn videos and shit, all kinds of stuff. I go in there and a bunch of things, and it was fucking funny. And it was crazy because it was right on the corner of Laurel Canyon and Ventura. It's a fucking FedEx there now, and like a Blaze Pizza or some shit, whatever. But he told me, he's like, hey man, Jack Nicholson and a few other people, including Denzel Washington, opened a new bar, like club on Melrose. And I'm like, word? Okay. And so, I find out later that, Denzel's opening up a new Jamaican restaurant called Creek Alley. And there was like no one, there was no information on it or anything else, but it was a full bar as well. It wasn't just a restaurant, it was a full bar, and they're going to be open till 2 a.m. And this was like, maybe more than a month before it was even opened. And I was begging people for information so I can get a job there. And nobody had no info. No one had no plugs and nothing. So I would just wait outside the address. And every day I waited, for like not that long, like maybe 4 days. And then finally one day I saw Denzel walk to his Porsche, and I pulled up right up on him, and I was like, hey man, remember this is post Malcolm X Denzel. Like this motherfucker is super lit now. He's beyond major, enormous fucking celebrity. And I was like, yo man, can I give you my mixtape? And he's like, were you trying to sell it? And I was like, no. I know you like hip hop. And I just want to let you know, like I can set the ambiance for your spot, for your bar. And, I know you like, I'm telling you, like, if I'm not dope, I'll work for a year for free. And he's like, well, this ain't a club, I was like, but I was like, I know you got a full DJ booth. And at the time, like people in New York City, they were already doing this shit, like at Moomba and just dope ass spots that were like restaurants and turning into like, like a supper club type of thing. But like, he had a sound system there and everything. So he took the tape, he smiled, took off in his Porsche, and I made sure on that tape I had Nas Halftime, I had fucking New York State of Mind, I had a couple of things, I had Farside on there, what was current. And I had heard Denzel like Nas and shit. So anyways, a week later, I get a page on my pager. We didn't have fucking cell phones back then, there were cell phones existed, but they're too expensive. And like, I get a page, and this girl Tish hits me up, and she's like, yeah, she's office manager. Like, hey man, bring your records. You start this Friday. It's like, it wasn't the opening night. It was like the week after. And I'm a DJ that night. And the pay again wasn't that great, but I was hungry as a motherfucker. And speaking of hungry, the food was fucking flames. It was amazing. It was the first time I ever ate Jamaican food, and I fell in love right away. Like right there, I was like, yo, this shit is crazy. I had curry goat, first time having jerk chicken, having festival, and like fucking Aki and having cola champagne and ting, and just it was just so fucking insane. Like it was, Jamaican food is like my top 3 favorite foods in life. Like it's crazy. And so like right off top, I just started killing the night. I'm playing all the shit and playing funk. I'm playing Earth, Wind & Fire. I'm playing everything, cool shit, everything. Because they didn't really want too much hip hop. And the place is fucking jamming. Place is popping like a motherfucker. And like even Monday nights there, which was like unheard of, was lit. And so I was asked to be the resident DJ for Friday and Saturday nights. And shit was so popping. I started actually coming just like in the middle of the week, like on a Tuesday and Wednesday, and like they'd have jazz nights or whatever. I ended up just popping up and doing random DJ sets, and I got a salary of $500 a week, which was like insane for me. That was a lot of money back then, And on top of that, I began to DJ all these exclusive parties for like these celebrities that would show up. Like Queen Latifah was a big, she attended the spot a lot. She would frequent it, and I mentioned in the Jordan Woods episode, I DJ'd Jada Pinkett's birthday party there. And Jada Pinkett's party is where, shit, man, it was like, that's where I met so many fucking celebrities, mostly a lot of black celebrities and like a lot of NBA players and everything. And like, I got to reconnect with Jason Kidd there. And now that people know I went to Albany, I played against Jason Kidd in high school. He went to St. Joseph's, and I was in Alameda, and I went to Albany. So like, they're in our conference. So, also I played at Cal, and like, Jason got there the year after, he got there when I left. Jason got in. We had mutual homies. He dated a chick from my high school, and we just caught up. We chopped it up and shit. Also, I met Tupac that night at Jada's party. She was obviously super close with him, and it was funny. That was the first time, not the first time I've seen Dr. Dre. I've seen Dr. Dre many times at concerts and stuff because NWA is my favorite group. But I saw Dr. Dre get in a fight with Michel'le, and I was a huge fucking Michel'le fan. Like, goddamn, No More Lies. I love that fucking song. And man, everyone was fucking there at that restaurant, man. Like Martin Lawrence, fuck, I can't even begin to tell you. Like stars were even made in there that were like, they had a jazz night there. They had this R&B live that this dude Billy Hammond did, and Billy Hammond's still doing some kind of entertainment thing. He's in there because I see cats fuck with him, like Cedric the Entertainer, and Cedric's my guy. Shout out to Ced, a bunch of other people, and Chris Tucker used to pull up there when he was broke. He wasn't even put on yet, but Chris Tucker was fucking with Death Row, and Death Row was heavy present in Creek Alley. And there was just so much motivation because I would see people broke and then later see him pull up in a Land Cruiser. And if you had a Land Cruiser back then, like, oof, like Heavy D had a Land Cruiser. And this was like a sick ass car. Like you'd see Benzes and just like dope ass whips would pull up. You know, it was some shit. I just knew I was going to get discovered or make that right connection right there. And that one night finally came. I remember the manager, one of the owners of the restaurant, Brad Johnson, who was a huge black socialite in the upper echelon of the whole world. He was one of Eddie Murphy's close friends. He was like one of Denzel's best friends, and he was his partner. He told me, he's like, hey, Ben, I got to go to Vegas, man, so no fucking hood shit tonight, all right? We be getting crazy in here, you know what I'm saying? We don't want no fights. We don't want anything, and I don't want you to fuck it up, okay? So don't fucking fuck around. You know, no bullshit. I'll be watching you closely. So he jumped on a jet to go head to Vegas to go watch a boxing match. And I'm like, motherfucker, you tripping, dog. I got the full run of the club. And I was like, fuck this. And there was like this gigantic, one big screen. There were screens everywhere. It was kind of like a sports bar, Jamaican restaurant. And like, I had the full run of the spot. So I was like, man, hold on. I control all the screens from the DJ booth. So I put on all these black exploitation films. So on a couple screens, I had the Mac. On one screen, I had Shaft. On another screen, I had fucking Kofi and shit. And like, you know, Dr. Dre gets there early. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be a motherfucking night. And it was crazy. He wasn't talking to no hoes. He was just vibing, right? And he was just literally sitting at the end of the bar, just straight vibing off of all the shit, all the rare grooves and all that funk shit I was playing. And he was checking out the movie screen. He was watching that shit. I just saw him. It was just no fancy spot in LA, period, would ever play this type of movie on a TV screen along with the type of music. Like I'm throwing Fazo on there. You know, I'm throwing William Devon. I got Roy Ayers playing like just gangster shit. You know, I'm like gradually playing from like the 60s, like the JBs and shit, to the 70s, to the 80s. And then like when I hit the 90s, I started to get gang related. You know what I mean? I'm playing fucking current shit like Dove Shack, Warren G, Foosh Nickens, fucking Craig Mack, Warren G. And it's funny because I'm playing like fucking Biggie Smalls, and like Dre was a big fan of East Coast music. He just loved East Coast beats, East Coast music. He was a huge Diamond D and just like Premier. He's a big fan of these dudes. And people, he was so West Coast. This guy's like the West Coast leader, and people didn't fucking know that shit, right? And so like I threw on a mean ass set, and then I took a break. I put a mix CD on, and I walked down to where Dre is sitting. Like, you know, I like sit about 5 seats away from him. And I knew he was going to fucking talk to me. And I told the bartender, I was like, it's my boy Arthur, it's this white boy. And I was like, hey man, pour me a Long Island iced tea. And so Drake walks up, he looks over at me and he goes, hey youngster, what you know about that music you was playing up there, man? And I was like, you know, he's like, and hey man, what the fuck? How you know I like Long Island iced teas? And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you talking about, man. You know, I like a Long Island iced teas. This is my drink, you know? And I was like, I've been fucking with music since I was a little kid. You know, my brother would, you know, play me a lot of fucking Bar-Kays and Earth, Wind & Fire and like James Brown shit and everything. And I just been down music since I was a kid, you know? And he's like, yo, you make beats? And this was the first time documented that Dr. Dre asked me, do I make beats? And I was like, nah, man. And he's like, all right, you got some skills, man. You know, give me your number. So he took down my pager number. And like a week later, I'm with my boy Field. Field worked for Def Jam West, and he worked for my boy DJ Paul Stewart. Shout out to DJ P. DJ P, Paul Stewart was vice president of Def Jam, and he ran West Coast of Def Jam. He signed Montel Jordan. Literally, this is how we do it. If you listen to the song, this is how we do it. He says, he goes, I ran to a DJ, and Paul was his name. I think he said DJ P a few times in the song, whatever, but that was Paul Stewart, my boy, his white boy. Shout out to Paul Stewart. I don't know if you listen to it, but Paul's around somewhere. And Paul was ahead. Paul signed Warren G. Paul signed Coolio. Paul was managing Farside, and he was fucking killing it. My boy Field was his right-hand man. And I'm with Field, and we're driving down Sunset, and I get a fucking beep. And these guys had cell phones, so I was like, hey, man, Field, can I use your phone? And I called the number, and the lady's like, yeah, how you doing? Can-Am Studios, how can I help you? And Field goes, hey, bro, that's Death Row Records, homie. That's Sam Snead. And so Sam Snead, he hits me up. He goes, hey, bro, you know, come down to the studio. You know, and bring some breaks, you know what I'm saying? Breaks for records, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, shit to sample off of. So I was like, I brought a gang of breaks from like, I brought a bunch of old Meters records. I brought Boss Skaggs records, you know, Grover Washington, all kinds of shit. And Sam Snead, who was Death Row's star producer at the time, he began to start making some beats in the studio. And this was like my first time in like Can-Am Studios in Reseda, right? And like, I don't even go this far deep in the Valley. It was never really my thing. And like, I was an LA cat. I never really fuck with the Valley like that. And this was the first night I actually met the Dog Pound. I met like all these motherfuckers, Snoop, everybody. I was tripping because I fuck with these dudes so heavy. I'm a West Coast G from like at heart. So this is also the first night I formally met Suge. And let me tell you something. Suge was fucking scary as fuck. This motherfucker, and I mean scary. I don't mean it in a West Coast term. I mean Suge was scary. Like I was frightened, like to hell. This dude was so. He has the energy about him was so crazy. It was nuts. And the folklore that surrounded him was like in the streets of LA. It was like worse than fucking Freddy Krueger. It was just scary. And that night, someone spilled iced tea, like literal iced tea onto a recording board. You know what I'm saying? It was an expensive ass Neve board and fucking flying faders and everything. And so that was the first night, me and Suge. And Suge beat some dude's ass, like right there, whooped his ass, beat the shit out of him. And there was LAPD working as security, and I didn't even know that was like possible. Never heard of like LAPD being a security. It was crazy, and like that became popular later, obviously. And like we'll get into later when Biggie got shot in LA and everything. But LAPD was scandalous then, and it was just fucking such a weird thing because dudes were smoking weed. Motherfuckers were in the studio getting high, getting their dick sucked, acting crazy as fuck. There were fucking pit bulls fighting in the studio. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And this was when, if you had weed in LA, you had a 20 sack on you, you're going to jail, bro. It's a fucking felony. Like, this was a different time in like life, period. And like LAPD is working security. So like, they ain't worried about shit. So like, anyways, I ended up going to that studio a lot. And, I was able to get some placement on some records. What people always ask me, hey, how you got them Death Row fucking plaques on the wall and everything? And like, I did some scratch inserts and, shout out to the old school crew over there, man. Fucking Krista Glove Taylor, Stooby Doo, Stu Fingers. Who else, man, was up in there? Fuck, I'm trying to think, man. My brain is so fucking rattled now telling all these fucking crazy stories because this is fucking 20, years ago, over 20 years ago. But, I remember, anytime I get a chance to talk to Dre, he's like, yo, man, I don't really want you working over here. This ain't really like a spot for you, like I know, like, I got a spot, I got a dude you can meet and talk to and you can go work for this dude. And later, obviously, the outcome, I mean, most people know I ended up working at Aftermath Entertainment. We'll get into that in a little bit, we'll get into that later. But that guy introduced me to was Brian Turner. And the crazy thing is, I was one of the first, if you know who Brian Turner is, if you watched that Straight Outta Compton movie, that movie was kind of bullshit. Not bullshit. There's just timelines that are a little off and whatever, because I was there throughout the whole thing, and I know, but they had to make it a Hollywood movie. And I'm not trying to take away anything from F. Gary Gray. He's fucking super talented, and he was super early Priority Record director. And so Brian Turner was CEO, founder, and owner of Priority Records. And he really did signed the California Raisins. If anybody remembers back in the day, they went gold. I think they went fucking platinum maybe. And Brian Turner was super smart, Jewish dude from Canada. And he's the guy responsible for starting NWA and Eazy-E, my favorite group of all time, one of my favorite rappers of all time. And that's where, they got their start. And shit, Master P got his start there. We signed Jay-Z there. And Brian Turner was he was a fucking genius. And he believed in me. He had a lot of faith in me, and that was the first time I got like a really high-paying job. I think I started out making $40,000 a year, but I started out as an A&R manager, so I wasn't at the bottom. I wasn't in the mailroom, but I was like, there was people above me, and these motherfuckers let it be known. Like, some Asian dude working in the fucking office, like, okay, we have to give this motherfucker some bullshit, And to be completely honest, man, I think this is the part where I'm gonna cut it off because there's too much good shit that's coming up right now, and it's like, there's going to be a part 2, part 3, and part 4, and there's just too much to talk about, you know what I'm saying? And like, I want to continue later. And it's like, when I continue, we'll talk about like when we did the Rockefeller deal and like me becoming friends with Dame Dash and me being way more popular of a DJ, connecting with bigger networks and, meeting and becoming friends with Leonardo DiCaprio at the time and like using like, I had clout at the time, and then this was obviously, there's no social network, there's no motherfucking internet, nothing. And, me and Leonardo DiCaprio was kicking it. It was cool, man. It was a dope era during that time. I was hanging out. I was living in the same building as Tupac. I had a fucking huge R&B group. I was working with Faith Evans, working with Missy Elliott before she had a deal. And just like so much more shit. I don't know if I could put these in sequence, but I just want to call this the K-Town Hustler series. And the one we just did is the K-Town Hustler Series 1. But it'll all be told here exclusively on the Behind the Baller podcast. Yo, Miles, take us out with the motherfucking Lakey beat. You guys, I love you so much. You have no idea. I'm so excited to continue this series. Let me shut the fuck up. Yo, Lakey, Miles, Dust Brothers, let's go.